Alright folks, it is May 17th. It's Friday, 10:30 at night, so right now. And we're out working on the 383 for the Firebird. Actually, we're just getting ready to plop it back in here. In our last video, you saw us do the, well, actually you didn't see me do the cam brake in, but I did the cam brake in, and then I did a couple of heat cycles. I just got done tearing valve covers off and valve train down, so that I could retorque all the head studs. So I got those all retorqued to 80 foot-pounds. And now off so that I can use this adjustable lift plate here. And we got all our bolts on here. I had to rethread a couple of those holes because when I had to put 3 of these in here to spin the crank around when I was assembling it. And when I pulled them out, they stripped the holes out. So anyway, they're all in there now. Starter's on. This is my good starter. Spark plugs, I gapped them all to 50 thousandths. Reset my valve train, valve lash. Checked all that stuff out, made sure it was good. So it's all ready now to go inside. I just put on this Jegs Universal engine diaper because it's better safe than sorry. I don't know that I'm going to make... well, anything can happen to any engine, no matter what kind of power you're having, you know. You can throw a rod out the bottom or the side of the block and put oil down, and if you're going fast, you can wipe out and do some bad things. So we got an engine diaper on there. Don't mind my ratty looking heat wrap. I'm not going to rewrap these right now anyway, but anyhow. So I got that on there. I drained the oil, put a new oil filter, and I'm going to put oil in it when it's back in the car. Right now I got to get this hood off. Problem is, it's just me. I really don't want to try to take it off of myself, but I just might. Anyway, yeah, so we're getting ready to put this thing back in there. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so right back here, on the back side of this head, I'm going to put one of these studs, because I got a bunch of ground wires that I have to hook to the engine right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that quick, and then... obviously, we're sitting really far forward still between the engine mount, the car, and the one on the engine. So we're going to have to flatten that back out, and that should help quite a bit, and then lower it down just a little bit more. But we're going to go ahead and put this stud on first. Alright, well, there it is. Firebird's got a motor in it for the first time in 5 months. I'll go ahead and put those motor mount bolts in. I probably won't snug them down or get the nuts on them maybe even, but put them in there so that it's resting at the proper height that ways. I just sucked up a bug. Gross. Okay. Yeah, so we'll get the motor mount bolts in, and then, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what step I'll move on to then. But I will make sure to record it. Yeah, probably hook the transmission up at some point soon. Yeah, I got lots to do now. So obviously intake has to go back on, accessories have to go back on, fuel system is all laying there from running it on the stand outside. Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to start, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So yeah, but for now, I'm really excited to have a motor back in the Firebird, because that's really cool, so yeah. Alright folks, it's Thursday, May 23rd. I don't exactly remember the last day. It was last week sometime when I was working on the Firebird, putting the 383 in. I skipped a little bit for you guys on just kind of some boring stuff. Last time we saw it, we were just lowering the motor down in and working on the motor mount bolts. Now I've got all the electronic stuff hooked up, except for a couple little wires. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to need that or not. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, I got some stuff rewired, lengthened the wires for a lot of things, because now I need more access to the valve covers. So got my coolant hoses out of the way, and there were 2 wire looms. This wire loom and this one both went like right here across the valve cover. So we moved them out of the way for the most part, except for the alternator plug-in, but I can just unplug that quick and move this out of the way in order to get down in. And the fuel hose has plenty of flex in it in order to get the valve cover up and out. So hopefully we should have good access to the valve covers for adjusting the valves. Anyway, we got the spark plug wires all on, carburetor all on, fuel system, all that stuff. Got our new BBK underdrive pulleys on. We had to get a longer bracket here, adjustable bracket for the alternator to make this old belt work, just because this is smaller, or this is larger, and that's smaller, and it just, the way that geometry worked out, this needed to be, the belt was too long for the old, shorter bracket there. And then I ended up having to get a different belt for my power steering, a shorter one. Could have actually done either a shorter one or a longer one. And I actually got two. I got one that was 2 inches shorter and one that was 4 inches longer. And either one of those would have worked, but I decided to go with the shorter one because then it didn't go over the water pump pulley as well. It just goes from the crank to the power steering. And it was cheaper, so I get to return the more expensive one. Yay. Anyhow, I've had it started, and I got the timing set at 36 degrees. I'm gonna add some water so that I can do a little carburetor tuning on idle and get it nice and happy where it needs to be. And then so far underneath we don't have any transmission yet. We just have, this is the Y pipe right here, and that's my air fuel ratio gauge going into the bung there, and it ends right there. So that's where my exhaust comes out right now. This is the old wiring for the exhaust cutout, and I'm gonna have to either buy a new one or just go without for right now, because it ended up, when I was doing the break-in process, it was still on the end of the Y pipe, and the aluminum section with the valve melted and is no longer functional. And it was kind of welded on there in a way that it wouldn't, I couldn't just replace that aluminum section, unfortunately, so I gotta get a whole nother cutout if I want to have one. But for now, I'm just gonna leave this like this till I get the transmission, drive shaft, everything in and happy. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. We're just adding water so that I can run this thing a little bit longer. And yeah, I'll show you guys a little bit of that when I get that going again. All right, so it's Friday, the 24th, I believe, May, and there's no longer a Firebird in the shop. I got the transmission in last night, and then after work tonight, I hooked up the drive shaft and the torque arm to the rear differential, and added transmission fluid, started it up, drove it around just a little bit. Got the transmission level good. That stuff, oil was good. Still not sure if my coolant level's low or not. I gotta double check that when it cools back down. Not gonna open it right away. But anyhow, we're sitting out here, out in front of the shop, or in front of the garage, whatever. And battery's charging. Coolant is pumping. As far as I can see, there's no water leaks up top. No oil leaks up top either. No transmission leaks dripping down. Catch can's not full, that's great. Line lock works. Brakes work. They were a little stiff. The fronts were pretty lot rotted, I guess you could say. The backs were just a little bit, but everything's we just, got the dust off of it and got it out, gave it a quick bath with the hose, get all the 5 months of dust off it, and now I'm working on wiring up the reverse lights because the shifter no longer has a electronic input for that. I'm gonna have a little button next to it to turn on the reverse lights when you go in reverse. But anyhow, so far, just a couple minor issues identified. When I'm anything over 5 miles an hour and I I guess it's 5 miles an hour. Okay, first problem, speedometer isn't working still. Okay, that's an issue. Got to fix that. But when I'm guessing that I'm going about 5 miles an hour and up, if I stab the brakes real fast, my oil pressure drops and then slowly comes back up. And I'm not sure that it's actually the oil pressure doing that. I don't feel like the oil pressure would drop that drastically if you're only doing 5 miles an hour and stopping. Because my theory is that it's coming all to the top of the heads, and then when you hit the brakes, it all comes to the front of valve covers, and then it slowly drains back because there's only, 2 drain backs in the front of the heads, and it's got to get all the way back to the oil pump. I don't know if that's for sure or not. I got to look into that more to figure out if it's truly losing oil pressure or not. If it is, that's a bad deal, and we got to figure something else out for that. But if it's not, that's great too. So I got to let this cool down, and then I can check the connections to the sensor back there. What else? I think that's kind of it. The transmission, second gear and fourth gear are a little not where I would like them to be. If you pull it down into first and then go into second, it doesn't want to shift into second, and then when it does, it doesn't want to hold any kind of power. And then shift it to third, third's fine, shift it to fourth, fourth's kind of the same way. So second and fourth are controlled by the same servo, the apply servo, that pinches the band onto the drum, and that's how you get second and overdrive. So there could be something wrong with how I've got my servo set up in there. But if you just pull it down into second when you're stopped and then take off, it shifts 1 to 2. 2 seems really healthy, and then shifts to 3 when you push it up into 3. So, and then when you go to fourth seems fine. So really not sure about that either. Just got to dive a little deeper. But I mean, for as much as we did to this car in the last 5 months, I'm really glad that there aren't any more major issues that I'm finding. So yeah, I expected there to be a couple quirks that I gotta figure out and work out. So anyhow, we're gonna start working on that stuff right now.